Hello again, my loves. It's Grandma. I have another story for you. This one is a story I made up to tell Daniel when he was little bitty. Your cousin Daniel. He was a little bitty boy, and we used to go to the beach, and we used to talk to the seagulls. And one day, I don't know, we were just sitting there, and Grandma made up this story and told him, and it's called The Story of Stanley and Sebastian. Well, Stanley and Sebastian, they were seagulls, but they were brothers. And they just had this awful habit of going down to the beach and eating just any old junk food they could find. Now, this one particular day, they had gone down there and they'd found cotton candy, and they'd found candied apples, and they had found a Snickers bar that was melting in the sun. They ate potato chips, and they drank soda pops that were left in cans. And they just weren't very generally healthy at all. So one day, the mother said, "Boys, I'm tired of you eating like this. You're not healthy. I want you to start eating better. I want you to eat vegetables, and I want you to eat grains, and I want you to eat things that are good for you, like corn and peas and carrots and things that are good for you." And she said, "From now on, that's what I want you to eat. So when you go to that beach, if you can't find that, you don't eat at the beach. You come home and I'll give you a good meal." So they said, "Yes, Mother." So off they flew to the beach. And they were a little bit disappointed because you know how it is when you have a favorite kind of junk food you just want to have. Well, they couldn't have it because they promised their mother they'd try to eat better. So they're walking down the beach, and they spied a bag, and it had a bunch of yellow kernels in it. And Stanley said, "Sebastian, you can read. What does that say?" And Sebastian looked at the bag, and he studied it for a minute, and he said, "It says, pop, corn, popcorn. Hey, Mom said we could eat corn, and it looks pretty good." Well, it was a bag of popcorn that hadn't been popped yet. It was just the kernels. So they ate and they ate and they ate. And it had some buttery flavor on it and a little bit of salt, and they were just in hog heaven. And they ate until they were so stuffed they couldn't move. So they said, "Oh, let's lay down and take a nap in this beautiful sun before we try to fly home. Because I'm just full and I can't fly right now." So they said, "Okay, we'll take a nap." So they lay down, and they lay with their backs on the warm sand and their bellies up to the sun. And Stanley looked at Sebastian and said, "Sebastian, I don't feel so good." And Sebastian said, "I don't feel so good either." Stanley said, "Sebastian, my tummy feels all rumbly and tumbly." And all of a sudden, they heard a sound, and it was pop. And Sebastian looked at his brother and said, "Stanley!" And Stanley said, "I didn't do that." So they laid there a few more minutes, and all of a sudden, pop! And Stanley said, "Sebastian!" And Sebastian said, "I didn't do that." So they both lay back, and just about the time they got comfortable, all of a sudden, pop, 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 pop. Their bellies started popping. The popcorn was getting warm in the sun inside their bellies, and it was popping. Oh my goodness, they were miserable. They had eaten till they had filled themselves up, and now the popcorn was popping, and it was bloating their tummies up, and they could barely walk. They sure couldn't fly. But by the time they had walked all the way home, they had walked off most of it, and they were feeling a little bit better. And they got home, and Mom said, "Have you boys been eating any junk food today?" And they knew they hadn't. They had had corn. That's not a junk food. Mom said it was okay. So they said, "No, ma'am, we didn't have any junk food today." And she said, "Well, that's good because I've made a wonderful dinner. And after that, I have a surprise for you. I have something special I want to give you." So they ate their dinner, and when they got finished, she said, "Look what I have for you." And she brought it out, and they went, "Oh no,